Hey guys, coming at you today with a savory recipe that is one that I made a lot when I was working at a country club, and I liked it so much and loved it so much I made it for my wedding at the country club. So we're gonna do it a little bit different today, but it is a very similar recipe and one we used to do at the club also. So today we are gonna make some keto, low carb, braised short ribs. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia and I'm a pastry chef and a mom, and I was a chef for years. And I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks I've learned in the kitchen over the years to bring you the best recipes possible. So if you enjoyed my recipes, please hit the subscribe button down there, give the video a thumbs up, leave me comments, and share with all your friends and family. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new recipes every Saturday. Now to get started, we are going to preheat our oven to 325. There's a couple different ways you can do this. The first part you can do in the oven, which is browning the short ribs up. We used to do it 500 degrees in our convection oven, but it was a lot more convenient to do it that way there. So I'm going to do it in a Dutch oven today, which is also really going to give a good nice sear on it. And then nice thing about a Dutch oven, it can go right into the oven with the lid on it. So this is the easiest way to do it. You can do it in any kind of pan and then transfer into like a 9x13. You just want to make sure you have enough room for the liquid to cover the short ribs completely, because we are braising this in a liquid for a very long time. 3 hours to be exact. But you can do this, you can braise it and then let them cool, wrap them or put them in a freezer bag and have them ready to go whenever you want. They freeze great. We used to make, I don't know, 30 at a time or so and wrap them individually and put them in the freezer, and we pull them out as we needed them to sell. So this is a great make ahead recipe, and then we just keep the sauce in the refrigerator and we just take it out as we needed it for the short ribs. So I got my pan on medium high heat right now. These are the short ribs I have. I have a little bit of extra just sandwich steak because I'm not sure if this is going to be enough for me, my husband, and my toddler to eat tonight. I looked elsewhere for short ribs. Actually, I only looked at one place, but they didn't have them, and I know Walmart doesn't have them. I got these from Butcher Box, so they came to my door, but I haven't seen them anywhere else. I don't go to higher end stores very often. It's usually Tops, which I hate. It's all, I think that's only in the Northeast too, and Walmart. So I'm gonna open these up. Are we leaking? Yes, we are. Just keep them in the bowl. So usually, we always got them at the club with the long bones on them. These don't have long bones. They're all cut off. Is that 2? Yep, there we go. So it's just like little hunks of short rib instead of one big massive short rib. Okay, that's it for that. Nice thing about these, you don't really have to do anything to them. They're all meat side up. We're gonna season them generously with salt and pepper. It's all gonna flavor our broth, so. Okay, and once your pan is hot, which it looks like it's kind of rippling, put in your short ribs. And let those get a nice brown exterior on them. Usually if you're using something like a Dutch oven, they'll be stuck until they got a nice brown coating, and then they'll release themselves off the bottom of the pan. You want to sear these on all sides. Once they're all nice and brown, pull them out. You're gonna get all that delicious fond on the bottom of your pot. That's all flavor. So we're gonna use this pot to build our braising liquid. We're gonna deglaze all that stuff on the bottom of the pan, and it's all gonna be flavor in our mix. Nice and brown. Okay. Now you can literally use just about anything for the braising liquid for this. I do suggest some kind of beef product. What we used to use, which is the best, is demi-glace. And you can make your own. It is a process though. I did have one job that made it from scratch. And it is basically roasting beef bones and then boiling it for hours. And you end up with a nice jelly like beef stock. Most restaurants buy it already made. I don't have that, couldn't find it, so I'm using beef broth. Beef bone broth. You want to deglaze with that bone broth. But if you can find demi-glace, it does make this exceptional for sure. Scrape up the bottom, whatever you can get. And then for my wedding, I did red wine braised short ribs, which is one we used to do a lot at the club. But instead of doing red wine, because that's what I had last, because that was like the last time I made these, we used to do a birch beer braised short rib. And I looked for root beer zevia, and of course they didn't have it. But they did have ginger root beer, which I think ginger will be a good flavor. So this is gonna be kind of like an Asian inspired almost flavor probably. I don't know if I've ever actually had this one. I might give it a taste. It just tastes like root beer to me. So we're gonna use equal parts of the bone broth, which is 32 ounces, equal parts of the zevia. The nice thing about this, there's no caramel color in it. You can use like a diet root beer if you want. This isn't gonna be as deep and rich in color because there's no caramel color in there, but it's gonna taste delicious. The problem is just that we don't have a really pretty sauce after we do this, because we're gonna use all this liquid that's left to make a sauce for our short ribs. We're gonna strain it after it braises and thicken it up. And keep a couple ounces in there. Okay, and then to that, you want just flavor components. So if you have fresh rosemary, fresh thyme, fresh garlic, all that stuff, that is what's gonna go in here. You're just making a braising liquid, so any flavor you put in there will help flavor your sauce at the end. You're gonna strain everything out so you can put whatever chunks of anything you have into your braising liquid. You do want this to come up to a boil, so I still have it high on the heat. You can literally just put onion skins and the butts of onions in there. I'm going to put a little bit, because I don't have like a lot of scraps, obviously. What I really should do, and I've thought I should be doing this whole time, is whenever I make anything and cut onions, put them in a bag in the freezer, and that can be the stuff that you add to soups or braising liquids and stuff like that. So, onion in. I do have carrots. Whatever you put in here, you don't want to have to eat later. So like, don't bother cutting anything in perfect chunks and stuff like that, because you're gonna have to get rid of all of it after the 3 hours, because it's just gonna be mush. Everything just falls apart. So I'm gonna put the ends of carrots in there, and I'm also gonna peel the carrots into there. And then I'm gonna cut the rest of the carrots up for my husband and son to have with their short ribs. If you have peeled carrots and you don't want to cook them right away, which we're not going to be cooking these right away, put them in a little bit of water and they'll stay good. They won't get all brown on you. We used to, that's how pizzerias do it. We used to serve wings and stuff too, so we'd prep carrot sticks and stuff and just keep it in water. I would add celery if I had any on hand. I do not. And I forgot to grab out my spices before I started recording, and my overhead shot is in front of my spice cabinet, so might have to move you a little bit. Tell if it's boiling or just fizzing from the pop. Will it fit? No. I really don't want my phone to fall into the pot of braising liquid either. That'd be not good. Where's my bag of peppercorns? Oh, I forgot. I downsized. So, peppercorns, and I'm gonna do some thyme. I meant to get like fresh herbs while I was at the store and I forgot. You can just throw them in whole because like I said, we're straining this later. So you're just getting all that flavor in there. And normally demi-glace and stuff have a lot of salt added to them. So we never really added salt. I'm gonna add some because it says a decent amount, I guess, of salt. Oh, I probably should have shaken it, huh? A lot of goodness down at the bottom. I got all that in there. I'm just gonna add a pinch of salt. You can always adjust seasoning later when you go to make your sauce that you're gonna put on the short ribs. After you pull them out of this liquid, you can season up your sauce more. Okay, so, oops, forgot about my camera. Sorry, guys. I'm so scared to move this with my phone above liquid. Don't judge me as a chef. I do use jar garlic. Mostly for time purposes, and I have not been getting, like when I get a head of garlic, it's already bad. Like I'll cut into it within like a day of getting it and it has brown spots in it or it's already growing the green in the middle. And I just was getting frustrated with it. So I just decided start getting jar garlic. I really wish I didn't have to, but okay, we are boiling. So if you're not doing this in the pot that you're making the stock in, you're gonna put all your short ribs into a pan, cover it with the liquid, and then cover it real tight with tin foil. And then you're gonna throw it in the oven for 3 hours at 325. Because I got it with a lid, we are gonna nestle all our short ribs in there, cover it with the lid, throw it in the oven. And we'll be back in 3 hours to check on them. They should be good to go, and then we can make the sauce. Bye-bye short ribs. Into the oven. And of course I didn't check if my thing was at the right level. Do that before you turn your oven on. Okay, round 2. Oy. Hey, luckily it'll just be a second for you, but I'll be back in 3 hours. Okay, it's been about 3 hours. Our timer is about to go off. Let's get these out of the oven. Ooh, that looks delicious. Time to make our sauce. Okay, start out with, we are going to transfer our short ribs to a plate, which they should be to the point where they're almost falling off the bone, which they look like they are. Good. Whoa. In the restaurant, we would just put this whole thing into the fridge to chill, and then we'd pick out, oh, that bone's gone, pick out the short ribs later and do the sauce up. The sauce would be a lot thicker for that because the demi-glace is much thicker than the broth is. Okay, now we gotta strain this into another pot. Turn that on. Probably are not gonna need all that, the amount of short ribs we have. But I do have that, I forgot to put that pack of sandwich steak in the braise, so I might cook that up. I'll use sauce for that. It's already gonna be hot, so it ain't gonna take long to come to a boil. I'm gonna take a little bit of this out just so that I'm not gonna spill it everywhere. Normally skim off the fat, but it doesn't look like there's a ton of fat in here. So I'm gonna turn that down because it's already boiling. Get this warm on the stove. And I'm gonna get the arrowroot. Start with a tablespoon, a little bit of water. Tablespoon of arrowroot is 8 carbs. Literally, there's really nothing in here carb-wise except for maybe a little bit of spices because the zevia has nothing in it. And that bone broth, I'm sure doesn't have anything in it either. Gravy is the only place where you're gonna have carbs. And then I'm eating this with leftover cauliflower mashed and maybe some broccoli. You can also reduce this down for a bit too. Because that bone broth just has water in it and zevia can evaporate too. Make it a thicker sauce quicker. That's what boiling is. Literally, if you simmer something for a long time, you're just evaporating the water out of it. So it will get less if you let it cook on the stove for a while. It is all just very sweet right now. We need to add some more spices to this. I'm gonna add 1 more tablespoon after we season it up. So black pepper. Does have good root beer flavor. It's not very beef forward, so I might actually add a beef bouillon to this too. Or maybe just some Worcestershire. I can do that. Give it some beefy flavor. Granulated onion. Garlic. This will easily freeze as well, so if you don't need all the braising liquid you have, you can always freeze it and use it in a soup later, or if you braise something else, or you just cook some steaks and you want to make a sauce out of a little bit of this sauce for a steak, you can do that. Well, I'm gonna add salt. That was the one thing. I didn't add any salt to the braising liquid because I didn't want it to get too salty. So now is when we'll add the salt. What's it need? Duh, salt. That's better. Now it's got a little bit of pepperiness, a little bit more Worcestershire. It's got enough garlic and onion. It needs a tiny bit more salt. That's good. I'm gonna add a little bit more thyme. Needs a little bit more thyme flavor. If you didn't know, if you add fresh herb to your braising liquid, you add them at the end. Fresh herbs at the end, dry herbs in the beginning or middle. That's good. I think I am gonna add a beef cube though. It doesn't have very much beefy flavor. That's the first time I've had that bone broth. I'm wondering if you use a kettle and fire, if it would be a little bit more flavorful. I know these technically aren't very good for you. There's a lot of crap in them, but they do give good flavor. I'm gonna let that boil for a little bit, and then we're gonna thicken it the rest of the way and give one of these little short ribs a try. If you don't like root beer, definitely do the half a dry red wine with half beef stock. That is delicious. Everyone raved about my food at my wedding, especially the short ribs. I'm just gonna let that come back to a boil. Keep stirring it. Then we get to try a short rib. Just want to coat the back of a spoon, which is almost there. We're not gonna need nearly all of this, not even half of this for our short ribs. So I'm gonna do another maybe teaspoon. Can't really tell, but it is coating the back of a spoon. I'd say we're good to go. So I'm going to give myself a little chunk of short rib and some of the sauce on it and give it a taste. So I took a piece off. It came off like nothing. It's very tender. Just fall off the bone. That's what you want. Super tender, delicious short rib. All that's edible on there. I just served them in little chunks off the bone. So good. I'll put up a picture of our plates here once I heat up my cauliflower mash and make some veg, and we're gonna have some yummy dinner. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little recipe tutorial. Cooking isn't really a science, it's all to taste. So whatever you use, whatever you season with, do it all to taste, and it's gonna be delicious. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by leaving me comments down below, giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links and the blog link to the full recipe in the description box below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll be back with more keto, low carb, healthy recipe videos. Bye guys. Happy keto, low carb, healthy cooking.